Yes, I know that I'm literally 3 months late with this review, and I really don't want to get into why I haven't done a spoiler review for this movie. So screw it, here we go. Hi guys, my name is Jobi-Wan Kenobi, and welcome to a channel in a galaxy far, far away. If you're finding me for the first time, I do Star Wars, Marvel, and DC videos. Hit that subscribe button with notifications on to be on alert for future videos. So the overall verdict, this may be the best Thor movie out of the three. I don't want to say that it is the best overall. Originally, I said that when I first saw it in November, but I think it's a tough contender for best Thor movie with the first Thor movie. So let's start off with the good. Those other two Thor movies were a little dull and less fun and exciting and thrilling compared to the rest of the MCU movies, but this one definitely brightened up things in terms of tone and color. This movie is flat out hilarious. Right from the beginning with Thor's encounter with Surtur, it's just hilarious all the way through. Korg, who was played by the director Taika Waititi, did an amazing job. He was really the comic relief character, him along with Meek, and it was really great. I truly enjoyed every scene that they were in. The humor was a good thing and a bad thing. I'll touch on why it's a bad thing later on. As for Hela, she's somewhat threatening. Her ambitions and motivation for the throne is very clear. She's the first child of Odin, making her Thor's sister, which makes her the rightful heir to the throne. However, Odin casted her out once she started to grow more powerful and deadlier, so now she's come back to take what's rightfully hers. The real standout would have to be Valkyrie. Her introduction was really good. That moment where she's drunk and falls into the trash can or the pile of trash with that cool music and then it just falls as she falls sets up like the rest of her character. A fallen hero of Asgard looking to forget her past and who she is altogether, but in the process she's fallen too far. She's still a badass, but she's not the same warrior that she was when she was a Valkyrie. Hulk was a nice addition. He didn't really have anything to contribute in terms of the plot. Like, he doesn't really have a connection to the overall plot of the story. He was really just there for extra support on Thor's mission, but it was a really good addition. We never saw these two characters interact the way that they did in this movie, so it was great to see these two bond the way that they did, both as the Hulk and Bruce Banner. Bruce has been stuck as the Hulk for 2 years, so the Hulk learned how to speak, sort of. It's not like complete and cohesive sentences. It's more like 2-year-old baby talk, but still I'm glad that they're moving forward in this direction for the Hulk, where he's more competent and less angry and smashy. I would really love to see the Hulk and Bruce have a better relationship, like the two sides understand each other. It's not like a fear of becoming the other and vice versa. They both have an understanding of each other, and it's a more relaxed and less self-conflicting storyline. As for Loki, I really enjoyed him as well. He's still up to those same tricks. He's still self-centered and looking for the praise and admiration from people. But towards the end, he's learned that even though he's the god of mischief, he can be so much more, and that's to be a hero or an anti-hero, however you want to interpret it. He still has that trait of wanting the praise, like when he came back to Asgard in the third act, he was like, oh, your savior is here. But his intentions were pure, and I truly appreciate that. Now, as for Thor, he really went through a lot in this movie. He lost his hammer, he lost his father, he lost his luscious Goldilocks hair, and his eye at the end of the movie. He's gone through so much, he's really shaken throughout everything that has happened that he levels up and realizes that he is the god of thunder, not the god of hammers. He's attached to the materialistic things that he's unable to tap into his full potential, so he needs all of that gone, he needs all of that removed so that he can get out of his own way and truly see the path that he's on, to truly understand that he is the god of thunder and exhibit that ability without the hammer. I really enjoyed that arc, and I felt like it was necessary for him to go through this moment and process so that he can become more powerful and become a worthy and great king, which he does become at the end of the movie. He is now the king of Asgard. Thor's arc also works well with that line that Asgard isn't a place, it's a people. Everyone, including the audience, got caught up with the materialistic that we forgot about the non-materialistic. So to defeat Hela means saving the people of Asgard, not necessarily the place, the city, which is where Ragnarok comes in, the prophecy that Surtur will destroy the city and everyone in it. He does complete the prophecy, but he doesn't kill the people. He destroys the city, but not everyone in it. Also, some of the sequences in this movie that I felt were really good was the Doctor Strange cameo. I really enjoyed that. Thor versus Hulk, Thor versus Surtur in the beginning, and then the third act, and everything after that. So for everything that this movie accomplishes, there are some bad things about this movie, starting with the first one, the humor. I felt like it was overused throughout the movie. Some of the humor was good. It felt natural and organic. The other stuff was a bit forced. This movie has been reported to be improvised. I think the report was 80% improvised, so take that as you will. Sometimes you couldn't tell that it was improvised, but other times you could, like when Valkyrie mentioned how we're gonna need cup holders because drinks. I'm guessing that was improvised, but it was also forced for me. I will defend Thor's humor because it was really good throughout the entire movie. I can argue that some of it was forced, but overall, off the top of my head, I think it was consistently good. He's been a comedic character in the past from time to time. He's had several one-liners here and there, such as in Age of Ultron. I think that was the most funniest he's ever been throughout the MCU.
Thor, report on the Hulk?
The gates of hell are filled with the screams of his victims. But not the screams of the dead, of course. No. Wounded screams, mainly whimpering, great deal of complaining, and tales of sprained deltoids and gout.
So, no Pepper? She's not coming?
Hey, what about Jane? Where are the ladies, gentlemen?
Oh, Miss Potts has a company to run.
Yes, I'm not even sure what country Jane's in. Her work in the Convergence has made her the world's foremost astronomer.
And the company that Pepper runs is the largest tech conglomerate on Earth. It's pretty exciting.
There's even talk of Jane getting a Nobel Prize.
Yeah, they must be busy because they'd hate missing you guys get together. Testosterone.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, excuse me.
Want a lozenge?
Mm-hmm.
But Jane's better.
I turned that key and dropped this rock a little early, and it's still billions dead. Even you can't stop that.
I am Thor, son of Odin, and as long as there is life in my breast, I am running out of things to say. Are you ready?
It's terribly well balanced.
Well, if there's too much weight, you lose power on the swing.
This time, it's just amplified to the max, and I felt like it wasn't out of character for him. It would be out of character for him if he acted more serious, more godly, more mature, and that's sort of ironic because he is a god, but at the same time, having him act in that manner and way, it would, put him on a pedestal, and we, the audience, are down here on a lower level, and we wouldn't really connect to him. We can't relate to him being this god because we're not gods ourselves. But if you add that humor and that humanity to him, to his character, then you can relate a lot more to him. We've all lost something, whether it's a materialistic thing or, a loved one, a parent, anything like that. So for him to go through all this and still have that humor, it really felt like he was a human, not just a god. As for the actual event Ragnarok, it really didn't have any weight to it. Yes, Thor is terrified that this event is going to happen, it's going to kill a bunch of people, but it didn't feel like the event was catastrophic on the audience's end. I didn't feel the heaviness that Thor was feeling about Ragnarok, and again, it's the humor. It's mostly the humor in this case, actually, because the humor sort of neutralizes all the seriousness of the movie. Just like the improvisation, I'd say that this movie is 80% comedy, 20% seriousness and maturity. What would have made it better was a balance between humor and seriousness. The other part of why Ragnarok wasn't significant to me was because it was really addressed in the beginning of the movie, and then it came back towards the end. So as you're watching the movie, you completely forget about Ragnarok and Asgard's doom and all of this about the prophecy. It was mentioned several times, Thor would bring it up again and again, but really it was only significant during the beginning and then towards the end. I think the explanation towards Ragnarok through a flashback along with Hela and Odin's flashbacks would have been better. Surtur is retelling the story of the first Ragnarok because I believe that this is a reoccurring thing in Norse mythology. It's not just a one and done deal. So Odin and Hela defeat Surtur the first time. Surtur is retelling this information to Thor, and then cut from the flashbacks, Thor yawns or snores because he's already heard it, or Surtur is just flat out boring, whatever it be. But Surtur would have to avoid telling Thor about Hela. He'd have to just mention Odin and the Asgardians defeated him. He wouldn't mention Hela to avoid spoiling Hela's entrance into the movie after Odin died. So a better explanation to Ragnarok, more references and callbacks to Asgard's impending doom, and I think that would have made the Ragnarok part of this movie better than what we have gotten. And speaking of Hela, she was only around for 10 to 15 scenes. Actually, I'd say maybe less, I'd say 5 to 8. In other words, I feel like she was barely there. She had little screen time, maybe 30 minutes in total, and it felt like she was underused. She could have done a lot more throughout the movie, but really, if you look back at everything she did, She destroyed Thor's hammer and fought him in the end. Everything between that is really forgettable and very small. I'd say the really big thing she did during that second act was when she killed all of those Asgardian soldiers in the courtyard. And that's about it. So again, I think if she was more involved in the first Ragnarok or in the prophecy, whatever it is, maybe she's trying to prevent Ragnarok as well. She can sense it and she's trying to prevent that so she can live or reign peacefully. But by trying to prevent Ragnarok, she's also accelerating the prophecy. Anything other than the stuff that she did in the movie would have been better and would have really utilized her character to the hype and expectation that she was given. Because believe it or not, you probably already know this is the first female lead villain, so you'd think that she'd be 10 times more threatening and better, but in reality, she wasn't everything you may have hoped for. Like, you think that they would have put a little more oomph to her character because she is the first female lead, but they didn't. So now onto Easter eggs. This isn't everything. I'm pretty sure I missed, several other things. If you spotted some Easter eggs that I may have missed, leave them down in the comments below or go watch another video where somebody explains all the Easter eggs in 20 minutes. Thor's look in this movie takes inspiration from his look in the Unworthy Thor storyline. Matt Damon, Liam Hemsworth, and Sam Neill all made a cameo in this movie during the play when Loki died in Thor: The Dark World. Matt Damon played Loki, Liam Hemsworth played Thor, and Sam Neill played Odin. During the play, Damon as Loki recalls the time he turned Thor into a frog, something that actually happened in the comics. Shady Acres was a reference to the Shady Acres retirement home in South Park. Jane Foster was briefly mentioned and her relationship with Thor is over. They broke up, and from how Thor described it, it was a mutual dumping, but I'm pretty sure that she dumped him for reasons unknown. Doctor Strange makes an appearance, and I really liked his interaction with Thor. Earthly magic meets outer space gods and mysticism. The umbrella disguised as Thor's hammer was a clear reference to the comics when he would transform from his alter ego, Donald Blake, to the mighty Thor, with like a staff or cane or something like that. The Warriors 3 is dead and there is no sign of Lady Sif anywhere. However, during the play, Liam Hemsworth as Thor requests the actress playing Sif to find help. And if you remember from Thor: The Dark World, Sif nor the Warriors 3 were present during Loki's quote-unquote death. Fenris Wolf makes an appearance. In the comics, he is the child of Loki and Angerboda, a giantess. Though it wasn't explicitly mentioned, the Grandmaster and the Collector are in fact brothers. Also, Valkyrie is bisexual, but it wasn't addressed during the movie. There was going to be a scene that would have explained her sexuality. I believe there was going to be a scene where a woman walks out of her bedroom, but another moment alludes to her bisexuality was during the flashback sequence when that one Valkyrie saved Tessa Thompson's Valkyrie from dying by Hela's sword. Korg and Meek also come from the comics. Meek is a Sakaarian, the native species of Sakaar, where Thor and Hulk and everyone else spend the majority of the movie on. Sakaarians have made an appearance before in the MCU during the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie. Both Korg and Meek were featured in the Planet Hulk storyline. Also, this movie takes inspiration from the Planet Hulk storyline, mainly the idea that Hulk is competing in a gladiator-type event. Before Hulk made his grand reappearance, the Grandmaster said,
I give you your incredible...
a clear reference to his other alias and first issue in the comics. The Infinity Gauntlet in Odin's vault, as confirmed by Hela, is fake. Also, the Tesseract and the Casket of Ancient Winters from the first Thor movie reappears. I'll talk about that Tesseract later in the video. That's more for the post-credits. Thor's helmet in his fight with Hulk is similar to his helmet in the comics. He has worn the helmet from the comics before briefly during the first Thor movie. Stan Lee's cameo is when Thor gets his hair cut. He's the one who actually cuts Thor's hair, and you have that hilarious moment where Thor's all like, "Don't you dare touch my hair, mortal," and then Stan Lee's like, "Fuck it, let's go." Thor tries to calm Hulk down by using the lullaby Black Widow used in Age of Ultron. This moment is followed by Thor getting thrown around like a rag doll in the same fashion that Loki was back in the first Avengers movie. Loki is obviously excited about the event because now Thor knows how it feels. I didn't catch that line when I first saw the movie in November, but I did notice it this past week. Hulk is also speaking in somewhat complete sentences, something that he has done in the comics before, but this isn't the first time that Hulk spoke or uttered a word in the MCU. The first time was in the Avengers after he had smacked Loki around.
Enough! You are all of you beneath me. I am a god, you dull creature, and I will not be bullied by that. Puny god.
The statues being built on the Collector's building are statues of established Marvel characters. You have Beta Ray Bill, Ares, Swamp Thing, and Beast. The Quinjet returns, last seen in Age of Ultron. Thor's passcode on the Quinjet is Point Break, a reference to the 90s film. Tony called Thor Point Break the first time they met in Avengers because he looked like Patrick Swayze's character.
No hard feelings, Point Break. You got a mean swing.
When plotting their escape from Sakaar, Valkyrie mentions that they should take one of the portals to Xandar and arrive in Asgard in 18 months. Thor calls his quote-unquote team the Revengers, a subtle remix on Avengers, but there is actually a Revengers team in the comics. And last, Hela mentions that Odin solves all of his problems by covering them up, and Thor adds, or by casting them out, which is the premise of the first Thor movie. So, the post-credit scenes. The last one was more comedic. There was nothing really there. It was just a follow-up to the Grandmaster after the Revolution. The first one is where all the action is at. So Thor and Loki are talking in Thor's quarters on the ship. Loki mentions that it's probably not best if he returns to Earth, and Thor agrees, but he's hopeful that everything will be fine. And then boom! Thanos' ship appears. Now, as Loki passed by the vault with Surtur's crown, he stopped and looked at the Tesseract. After the movie was released, there was speculation that he took the Tesseract before he left and Asgard was destroyed, and then the Infinity War trailer dropped confirming that he 100% took it before Asgard was destroyed. It appears that he's giving it to Thanos or one of his children / members of the Black Order. I want to say that it's Thanos along with one of his children of the Black Order. We can see someone walking over what looks to be Asgardians, so perhaps their encounter with the Sanctuary 2, which is what Thanos' warship is called, goes terribly wrong. Thor gets separated and Loki gives the Tesseract to Thanos to spare any surviving Asgardians or to simply spare himself. Judging by everything that Loki went through in this movie, I hope he hands the Tesseract over to him, to Thanos, so that he can go away and spare any remaining Asgardians. He's probably hiding it for a while because he knows that Thanos means business when it comes to these Infinity Stones, but he later realizes that saving the people is far more important than protecting one stone. So this looks like the Space Stone is going to be the second stone he collects. The first one, which is the Power Stone, which was left on Xandar with the Nova Corps, appears to have been acquired off-screen. I think these two scenes where we see Thanos place the Space Stone in the gauntlet and then when he punches Iron Man happen in separate moments. So when he places the Space Stone in the gauntlet, that's when Loki hands it to him here. So overall, really enjoyed this movie. Everyone truly shined, some more than others, but that's okay. It was a fun and entertaining movie nonetheless, and with some heart, but it could have had a little, if not a lot more heart. But what are your thoughts on this movie? Did you like it or hate it? Leave your thoughts down in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe for future reviews. Up next, we got Black Panther, and then Infinity War. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and other than that, my name is Jobi-Wan Kenobi. May the Force be with you, and have a marvelous day from the LA to the DC.